Some blue boy is waiting just like you to find someone to be true to love and arms you can nestle into. Stay.
Well, my first question to you, Mel Tormé, is going to be, is that record available on CD?
Which record is that?
The one you probably just didn't hear. I was playing something from the Mel Tormé and Buddy Rich together again for the first time.
You know, I don't think that record has ever come out on CD, which is really kind of a shame because the Buddy Rich Band really never sounded better than it does on that album.
Well, if you could have heard it down the telephone line, and I guess you couldn't, you'd have heard that there were some scratches on it because it's been played so much on this radio station.
Well, that's good. At least you're playing it.
But it is a fabulous album.
Thank you.
And I understand you're just finishing up a book about your good friend.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've been working on Buddy Rich's biography for well over a year now, and it's really, literally just been completed within the last 4 or 5 days.
You know, you're a great writer. I read the biography, the autobiography that you wrote.
It wasn't all velvet.
Yeah.
That's just come out in paperback, by the way.
Oh, has it?
Just now, just this in January. It hit the stands. I've been seeing it all over airports and bookshops.
And, of course, you've done some television acting and producing, too, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. When do you find time to sing?
Well, you know something, Ken? There really is a lot of time in the day. You know, whenever I do interviews, people are saying, well, how do you get the time to... You write all your own arrangements, you write books, etc. There really is a lot of time if you don't squander it, if you don't waste it. There's time every day to work, and there's time to even recreate and, you know, watch television or go to a movie or play tennis or whatever. It's just a matter of compartmentizing your day, which is something that I learned to do a long time ago.
Well, that's good. There are so many creative people who seem to be so scatterbrained when it comes to organization. And I'm afraid I'm scatterbrained. I'm not all that creative.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't think it's a matter of scatterbraining. I just think it really is a matter of kind of collecting your parcels of time during the day and saying, okay, I'm going to really... It's almost regimental. You know what I mean? It's like a regimen.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I learned to do if I wanted to get things done. And it I don't know. It works for me. That's all I can say.
You started singing when you were 4 years of age, as I recall.
Yep, that's right.
And that was in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And it was, I think you were 8 years old when you did your first professional gig. Something like that.
No, that's not true. When I started singing at the age of 4, I was singing with a famous name band of the time called the Coon Sanders Orchestra at the Black Rock Restaurant in Chicago. And I was paid $15 every Monday night. So I was a professional singer for money at the age of 4.
4-year-old singer.
Yep.
Were you? Would you admit that you were kind of a precocious kid? You've been described as that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all look down on precocious kids. They're really kind of pains in the neck. I don't know how much of a pain in the neck I was in those days. I can't remember. But I am grateful that I was able to break into the business at a very early age. I think it did me a lot of good from a standpoint of being able to handle celebrity as you grow a little bit older. It's something that you're accustomed to. I don't mean celebrity, but just being in the business and knowing the vagaries of the business. Mm-hmm. That nothing is forever, that it can stop any minute. I've been on a lucky roll since I was 4 years old, so you're talking to one of the luckiest guys in America right now.
Well, I think one of the most talented, too. I think there's nobody else alive who does as much with a song as Mel Tormé does.
Oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you, Ken.
We have something in common, come to think of it. I just remember reading something in your book, and this is the only thing you and I have in common, and that is that we both tried to take piano lessons, and both of our instructors said, don't take piano lessons.
Yeah, that's right.
Mine was for a different reason, though.
That lady, Lucille Gould, not long ago, and we spoke about the fact that I had gone up to... She gave me a scholarship, and then started hearing some of the songs that I had written at a very early age. I think I was 14 years old. And I was writing songs, and she said, there's something a little bit unique about the way you write. Don't study the piano if you don't want to be a pianist. If that's all you want to be as a pianist, fine, study the piano. Otherwise, don't.
Yeah. You know what? You have a pianist that plays with you, John Campbell, who is from Bloomington.
Fantastic.
He is fantastic, isn't he?
He is fantastic. John Campbell is one of the best pianists, in addition to being a marvelous guy. He's one of the best pianists I've ever heard in my entire life. Not just playing for me, but playing as a superb jazz artist. He's got an album out on his own right now with a trio. I think Terry Gibbs is on that, and it's a smashing jazz piano album.
Mm-hmm. He is good.
Oh, he's terrific.
And
He's good.
You've sung with some of the best. I tell you, I heard you when you were over at the University of Illinois, I think about a year ago. At least it was last year sometime.
Yeah, with Shearing.
With George Shearing.
Uh-huh.
And quite frankly, I was excited about the show, thinking I really wanted to hear Shearing. I mean, he was the name that I kind of went. I like Mel Tormé music, okay? But I went to hear Shearing, and I enjoyed the beginning of the program. And I thought, well, what's this singer going to do now? Can he top this? You came out... And, I mean, it was like it was a refreshing show all over again. And I came away being a real Mel Tormé fan.
Well, that's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are like that.
Well, that's great. I mean, I love converts. I mean, I love converting people on a daily basis.
Yeah. Well,
that's okay, because I never have any ego problems. I do realize that there are people... I'll tell you what's interesting about the current show that I'm doing with Helen Reddy. This was my idea. I thought to myself... The broad spectrum of people that will come to see both of us. I mean, there are people that do come who are pure Helen Reddy fans. They are adoring, worshipful fans of Helen, who's a marvelous performer, by the way. She is a pop singer. Well, I don't mean that to sound minimalizing. She's a great singer of popular songs. She's contemporary. I'm a jazz singer, and so people come and do exactly what you did that time, Ken.
Mm-hmm.
They walk in and say, gee, we're really here to see Helen. We'll stay to see Mel Tormé, but, we're principally here to see Helen.
I think there are going to be people that are going to go to see Mel Tormé and then find out they like Helen Reddy.
Absolutely. I mean, I've
Sure.
had people backstage again and again and again who have come to see me
Mm-hmm.
and have really had no previous interest in Helen Reddy, and have walked back and said, we're your fans. We come wherever you are. We're thrilled to see you again. But, gee, we really like Helen Reddy an awful lot. She was great.
Well, let me back up here just a minute. I've heard Mel Tormé records all my life, and I really enjoy them. There's no doubt about it. But I'm saying you're one of the people that you can go see in person and come away being even more impressed. And that's
very nice, Ken.
That is a trick, because there are a lot of groups out today that sound better in the studio than they do on
I guess that's true.
on the stage. But
I think I've always kind of thrived on the in-person experience anyway. And I choose these, I do a tour every year like this for Columbia Artists. It was one of the number one touring agency in the world. And so I'm very, very careful about who I work with. And, Shearing, of course, and we have this is a great love affair. We've been working together for years and years now, and we love it. We've got a lot of dates planned in 1990, as a matter of fact.
yeah, in fact, I can't think of a show that I enjoyed more, musical show, than the show that I saw with you guys together.
I'm not joking, and this is not, I swear to you, this is an unsolicited commercial. If you get the opportunity, and your folks, in that whole normal area do, wait till you see this one. Because this is even more variegated than the one with Shearing. Georgie and I are, we call each other two bodies with but a single musical mind. We principally do the same kind of music. We're both involved in the jazz idiom. But this show has far more varied kinds of music, and the viewer, the patron, the client, the customer, walks away with a much broader musical experience, even than the one that they might have had with me and George Shearing.
Okay. Well, we're going to invite people to do that, that's for sure. You've had a career that's just been around for so long. I mean, when you think about Mel Tormé singing with Chico Marx...
Yep.
How did that match ever work out? I mean, I'm trying to remember now. You did sing with the Chico Marx Orchestra.
I did during the war. Absolutely. I was 16 and 17 years old, and I was hired to not only sing with the band, but play drums and also organize a vocal group within the band and write for the vocal group. And it was a great experience for me. And by the way, let me tell you something you get a kick out of, Ken. Whenever anybody interviews me and talks about the Chico Marx band, they do what you just did. Chico Marx, you worked with Chico Marx.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something, Ken. It was one of the greatest swing bands of the entire era. That band was put together by the famous old drummer, Ben Pollock. And some of the greatest jazz musicians, Barney Kessel on guitar, Marty Marsala on trumpet, Marty Napoleon on piano. The band was absolutely extraordinary, and the proof of the pudding was that when we were on the road, Duke Ellington, Charlie Barnett, all the people that were on the road who were big swing bands came to hear the Chico Marx Band.
I wouldn't doubt that. You know, I got to be good friends with George Rock, who played with Spike Jones.
Oh, yeah, George. Yeah.
And he was probably one of the most fantastic trumpet players that I'd ever run into.
Absolutely, yeah.
Guy could do more with a horn. And
Absolutely. And he played with with that old kind of novelty band of Spike Jones.
But they were good musicians.
People think about Chico Marx, they think, well, that's the guy that played piano with the Marx Brothers, with the shooting the keys with his finger and stuff.
Yeah, like a gun.
And he did come out about 15 or 20 minutes every night and did a little presentation, like a little show of his own. But the band had nothing to do with Chico Marx. The band was as good or better a swing band than any band that toured in the during the war years.
Yeah, I got to ask you this. I'm hearing some new recordings of some of the older tunes, and they sound really good. Are there as good musicians around that can do this kind of stuff today as there were then, or would you say it's a losing ball game?
No, I don't think it's a losing ball game. I think that there are young musicians that are coming out of Berkeley School of Music and North Texas State School of Music that have played with the big bands. And of course, there are always that marvelous unknown quantity that come forth, like Wynton Marsalis and his brother Bramford, who redefine the fact that there are young people who are not just interested in playing three chords on a guitar and going for the easy buck with rock and roll music. And I'm not putting rock and roll down. I mean, it's got its place and it's got its audience. But there are young people who still are interested in following in the paths of the Benny Goodmans and the Artie Shaws and the Dizzy Gillespies.
Mm-hmm. You had the group called the Miltones, and you were doing unusual harmony even back then, weren't you? I mean, that was...
Well, yeah, but again, remember, I was raised on the great vocal groups like the Modernaires and the Pied Pipers, and it just kind of came naturally.
Yeah. When you go into this scat singing, man, I heard you do some stuff with Ella Fitzgerald. Just fantastic. Is that just off the top of the head, or is this something that's really planned out? I mean,
no. Okay. I never know what's going to come out of my mouth until the millisecond before it comes out.
Is that right?
The pure essence of scat singing is to do what it's the alter ego, really, of what a tenor man or a clarinet man or a trumpet player, trombone player will do, and that is totally and completely extemporaneous. So any single time ever that I've sung scat, other than occasionally when Shearing and I work out a final chorus that we do together, yeah, that's worked out. But any of the pure scat singing is purely that. It is scat singing in its most extemporaneous form.
So you don't know what the words are going to be, and you don't know what the
syllables will be. I have no idea what what lines, what melody lines, what improvisational lines are going to come out until I literally sing them at that millisecond. That's all I can say.
So every night's different?
Absolutely. Every single line that I sing is different.
Wow. We're rapidly running out of time. This is ridiculous. I'd love to talk to you about, 12 or 14 hours, I guess. but you are going to be in town on February 22nd along with Helen Reddy, and that is a show that you don't want to miss, I'll tell you. If you like music at all, I've heard some people complain, and I've never understood this, why some groups insist on being so loud that you can enjoy them in your car, in the parking lot, and you can still hear the band. It's nuts. But I tell you, I heard more variety, more changes in volume, pitch, the whole business. And I'm really making this very simple. But when I heard you sing and what you could do on stage with just a microphone and just the backup thing, it's just incredible what you can do.
Well, Helen, let me just tell you this briefly. Helen has got her own group of musicians, and they're among the most talented musicians I've ever heard. I have my own trio with John Campbell, of course, who is absolutely smashing, and my super drummer, Donnie Osborne, who's probably the closest thing to Buddy Rich that anybody is ever going to see again. So, and we've got a marvelous bass player named Bob Mays from California, who's one of the 2 or 3 best in the country. So we have such a wonderfully varied show. I'm telling you, I'm so high on this show. I've had such fun doing this show. I wrote a medley that I want to tell you about quickly, Ken, that Helen and I do together at the end of the show that's got some of the biggest response I have ever gotten on a stage.
Really?
Honest to God, yeah. I mean, it really is a fun medley that I don't want to give it away because it's very special.
Okay. Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
And maybe I'm interrupting you here. When you wrote your autobiography, you pulled no punches. I mean, you talk about the highs and the lows of your life.
That's why it was called It Wasn't All Velvet.
Right. And you really, I mean, it's like exposing your soul to the world, I think. Is that any more of an exposure than singing on stage? Or when you sing on stage and really give it your all, do you feel as though you're still letting everybody look at all the nuts and bolts?
Looking at the sum total of what you are. I mean, as you grow older, particularly, and I've been through a few divorces. I've had some great times, and I've had some rough times. And I think that if you use that as good actors do, most of the good actors that I've ever known, Gene Hackman's a good example. He's a friend of mine who says, I use the sum total of my experiences in my acting. Well, I use it in my singing performances. And I think particularly during, for instance, torch songs and stuff, that people can see that you're singing from experience. You're not just mouthing the words and letting the melody come out.
Yeah. You really have to get into it or it's not sincere.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Mel, it's a pleasure to talk with you. I hope we get to do this again sometime.
Thank you, Ken. It's been a joy, and I'm looking forward to seeing all my buddies in that area come to see Helen and myself in Normal.
All right. Mel Tormé, Helen Reddy, February 22nd at Braden Auditorium. You can get tickets at Braden or give them a call over there at Bergner's or stop by Bergner's at Ticketron and get your tickets. Let's sell a lot of tickets for this one because it's going to be one fantastic show.
Oh, thanks a lot, Ken.
Thank you, Mel.
Pleasure talking to you.